Hello YouTube, this is T Walker aka Tanner coming to you with another video. Um Actually this one's gonna be more about looking for your opinions on a few things. I recently read a little or some of Warhammer 3rd Edition's rulings, and you know I was I thought for the most part it was kind of cool. I mean the cards I'm still about, but when I play it, I'll see what I really feel about that. But what I liked about it was, or what I took away from it at least, was the misfortune dice, I think they're called. And so let me give just a really brief, and I probably won't do it justice, but I don't care at this point. So, for those of you who don't know, Warhammer 3rd Edition has a bunch of custom dice. These custom dice do different things. You have your stat dice, right? And each stat will have a number next to it, which means you'll roll a certain amount of these stat dice. And on these custom dice are various symbols, meaning like successes, epic success, some of the good things happen. Different symbols to tell you, what happens. And then with those, stat dice, you're going to roll a bunch of, I think they're problem dice, or something like this, something with a P, I think. And they're purple, and these represents the hardship, and so pretty much you just need to amount a number of successes over the amount of problems on those dice. Now, with that, there is also I think like passive and reckless dice, and the reckless dice will give you more chances for success, whereas the passive ones, no, reckless dice will give you less chance of success, but will happen faster. But the passive dice will make it take a little longer sometimes, and they have little symbols on that to register that. I know I'm talking really fast, but I'm just trying to get through this. Then we have the fortune dice, which add bonuses. They give you a few more successes, or what are called boons, which are some special effect that happens. And then you have the misfortune dice, which do the exact opposite. They add in complications, or add in really bad effects. You can still succeed, but they just add in these bad effects on top of them. So also they have skill dice, which can also add in a bit more successes. So that's the basic system in about a minute. So what this does actually is you roll this huge dice pool, and you have some cancel each other out, and then whatever's left is the effect this takes on you, right? So you might have oh look, a little exhaustion dice came up, so I'm a little bit more tired than I normally would have been. Oh look, a time dice came up, it took a little bit of longer time. But what I took away from this was a complication dice. Now in my system, the way I've been doing things is just by minuses and pluses, which I've actually kind of been having a problem with, especially for the skill system. Like oh you're not trained in this, so you take a -2 in it. Right? So I'm thinking, for my skills, let's go with, because I use it so much, lockpicking. I think it's like the kind of the flagship of skills, or the stereotype skill. But anyway, lockpicking. So what I was thinking, with these complication dice, or these added dice with effects, what I could do is you roll because this is what I have been doing. You roll your 2 stat dice, right? And then you add your skill bonus onto that. So if you had 5 in lockpicking, you'd add +5. But I didn't really like that, So, or I didn't think that was really interesting. So I'm thinking maybe, also, sorry, it's a little bit disgruntled, but say there was the lockpick, or the lock will have a challenge rating, of course, but it will also have, what I've been doing is have a certain amount that's required to even attempt it. So, say you have, lockpick 3, and it's a lockpick 5, or it requires, 5 lockpick at least to attempt it, so you couldn't try it. But I was thinking, well, maybe not do that, but maybe do something like this, where if you have 3 in your lockpick skill, but, it's a requirement of 5, you can still attempt it, right? But you're going to roll 2 complication dice with that roll. And what these will do is they would add either complications or a chance for just complete failure or something to go horribly, horribly wrong. Now, I'm wondering what you guys as a community think about that. Let's not use it with skills, but just in general. Adding some of these, complication dice to the roll, right? And having those dice kind of tell a story. What I'm wondering is, what do you guys think of that? I mean, do you think, rolling a bunch of these dice, you kind of having the ones cancel out each other, and what's left tell a story? Do you like it like that, where it's like, oh, it's kind of cool, or these dice, they kind of explain better what happens, and then we role play out what happens? Are you guys a fan of that, or you think that's kind of, because, I like it, but I'm kind of split, I'm like, okay, well, I like that it's kind of in a new, innovative way, right? But then again, it's kind of the dice telling me what to do, which, is interesting. I mean, is that too restricting? Is it like, oh, well, I mean, the way they do it is kind of, smooth and simple, oh, it just took you longer, and then I'll roleplay that out. That's kind of cool. But what do you guys as a community think? I mean, do you think, that's kind of taking role playing in the wrong direction? If I were to put these complication dice into my skill system, do you think that would make it more interesting? Right? Because complications don't necessarily mean failure, but let me give an example of what I'm thinking, or how this would work. So maybe you have a lockpick skill of 3, it's a requirement 5, right? And so I roll 2 complication dice, and maybe I get, 2 complications with that. So, maybe I managed to pick the lock because I roll my stats say that they beat the challenge rating, I picked the lock. But since my skill, or since I've got these 2 complications, maybe 1, it makes a really loud noise so all the guards hear, and 2, the lock breaks so everybody knows it's been tampered with. Something like that is how I'm thinking. And again, I'm just brainstorming. This has been kind of like a day of brainstorming, just kind of chewing around ideas. I'm not really sure how to do this, because like I've said, the problem with skills in my system right now is that there's no spark to them. There's no flair, and like, people are not like looking at skills and being like, oh my gosh, I want to pick that skill because it's, so cool. Which is what I want, and you guys are probably thinking, why would you want that? That sounds terrible. Well, because magic has a flair, right? People see magic and they're like, ooh, I want me some of that, right? Or they see all the things you can do in battle, then they're like, oh yeah, and they just, you get that picture in your head of, all these different things you can like achieve in battle. And while skills might be a means to achieving that, I want, the other skills, the knowledge skills, the, lockpick skill, to have that same kind of flair, that same kind of spark. I want people to, choose to be an investigator with no social ability and no combat ability, and still be, a badass, still have that spark of, and people like look at him and be like, man, I'm not playing that type of character right now, but I could totally see myself doing that because that looks just awesome. And I'm thinking the way to do that is to make skills really unique. And, I looked at Warhammer and or 3rd edition, I said, that is kind of a unique way to do it. I haven't seen that before, which is, I think, what I'm liking about it. But what I'm not so sure on is whether this is the right direction to pull, systems. Is this the right direction to go? So that's kind of, I mean, I've listed off a bunch of questions, but that's one of them. Is this the right direction? Should, you cast the bones and have them tell a story? Is that right to you guys? Also, do you think that type of thing would make skills a little bit more interesting or unique? Right? On the flip side of that, what if they have a skill, above the rating? Should, I have them cast, the uncomplication dice, where they have a chance to succeed or a chance to remove complications? That's another thing. But pretty much, I want to know what you guys think of this kind of Warhammer system of like casting these dice out and having them tell you a story. Do you think that's where role playing should be headed, where tabletop should be headed, or not? Send me your responses. Comment videos, all that stuff's good. But I really want to know what you guys think. Anyway, this has been Tanner, aka T Walker, and I'm signing off.